Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
Tomorrow is opening day.
This morning, didn't have a great hunt. Deer didn't move like usual.
We just got set up in the middle of this bedding thicket. We've been saving this spot from the rut. I think it's a nice buck.
Boom! Hits a 170.
That was money. I think he's down right over there, maybe 10 yards.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy.
Baller rut.
All right, we got another legend coming back. This is one we've been working on the burners. We know you guys love the legends. We got Brody Splain coming in with a 212-inch typical giant he shot in Indiana. Clean, typical.
You know what's crazy? Like a 212-inch typical, without just strolling across to him on social, like you never even would have heard about this deer.
No, you never would have heard of it.
Unless you get North American Whitetail magazine.
He said he got the cover in North American Whitetail, which I didn't know. I need to get the membership to that just so I can keep the covers.
I mean, it can't be that expensive now.
Yeah, it'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, we got the story of how he was on this deer, how he went through the hunting season, the struggles, the glory. I love that he got to share it with his dad. I thought that was very cool. Glad we started a friendship with him, and let's get into the people that make this possible. Start out with the VIP veteran broadhead. I just seen our buddy did a mountain review on YouTube for the VIP broadhead, and it's pretty cool. Found another fellow elk hunter up there and said, hey, try this head out. And the guy's been shooting one for a long time. He shot the head, and he's like, well, I'm going to change. So if you guys haven't tried it out, go ahead and get you a pack and try it. A lot of news coming out of VIP. We got the 175 grain for the big animals. Like this guy hunts in Africa, so he could have used the 175 grain over there. But
the 100 grain still getting it done.
The 100 grain still getting it done. That's what we're going to be rocking this year. We got packs on packs. Hopefully put down some deer and hear that national anthem sing.
Yes.
Let's get into the VIP veteran broadhead shout-out.
This week's shout-out is Josh Bergman. He retired from the Navy after 20 years of service. He did 5 tours overseas, 2 of which were in Iraq, flying the Caseback mission as a corpsman on a Marine CH-76 helicopter. Josh, everybody here at Whitetail Legacy appreciate your service, and VIP family as well as Matt and Cindy. I told you thank you, and you're just one of them really solid guys that we always talk about, and you're just like, I did my part. There's more people out there that are doing bigger things, but 5 tours of service overseas is a lot to us, and it means the world to us.
Yeah, it does. That's a lot of time away from family and friends to serve people like us and to serve this country. So utmost respect to you, and I appreciate you being a VIP shout out, and I hope this little shout out means something like we want it to. We really appreciate your sacrifice. All right, let's get into Ingram's outdoor session. All your custom taxidermy needs is what I'm going to say. He's been doing a lot of custom work, a lot of really unique turns, head up, weird. The shoulder mount you got this year is weird. He's got the licking one. He's got my custom work. Anything that you need done, he's your man to do it. If you're in the local area, check him out. You will not be upset about your choice.
And a lot of his stuff that has been custom coming out lately is obviously a lot of his first, and he's nailing it. Yeah. So don't be scared to take your stuff there.
Yeah, if you got a unique idea of what you might want, he's a guy that'll do it. He's not going to turn anything down, and he'll make it happen somehow. He's crushing it.
He is.
Let's get into ECW calls. We're going to be rocking the grunt tubes. I got mine out today. Shook the dust off it from last season. I'm excited to get it back in the pack and get out there. There's nothing like hitting that grunt, mid-October on that buck. I actually grunted one in the 15th of October and killed him, came in raking the scrape, showing dominance the 15th of October. So I'm excited to get that thing out. There's not a more clutch tool in the arsenal, I think, than a grunt tube.
And a grunt?
I think a grunt is just the first thing you see is if a buck ain't working in, you're going to grunt at him. That's like the most low-key thing you could do to maybe coax him over. You're going to throw some grunts. So.
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. So, So what's better than having a grunt tube, but a custom grunt tube, custom to your hunting team or your name or the date you killed a giant or the shed off a buck that you found that you're trying to kill now, whatever you want, he can do it.
I want to know the first person that has a shed off the buck that they killed the next year.
Yeah.
I want to shout them out.
That would be pretty solid. Let's get into scent lock. All your carbon technology needs. Our buddy Paul just got a scent lock bag down in Georgia. We tell people about how good the quality is and how big it was. He could not believe how big that bag was. They did not skimp out on the size of that thing.
I think he tried to fit his house in there.
Yeah, you can fit literally everything in that. Everything I own, hunting clothing wise, is in that thing.
Yeah,
is in that bag, and you're running ozone on it. Less washes. I mean, it does a lot. I think the ozone killing technology, in the bag like that when it's concealed does wonders on giving you that extra 10 seconds to make a shot, rather than them. They still detected something, but you got that extra time instead of them just blowing and run away instantly. So
right.
Check out the Oz bag, the Oz 500. It's one of my favorite products that they've made. I've used some other Oz bags in the market, and they've lasted a year. I'm going on 2 years, and there's not even a scratch on that thing. So, and I'm rough on stuff. Ask Homie. Everything I have is half broken.
Very.
Like this podcast, half. I'm not broken, but half broke. You know what I mean? Like real low.
All right, here we go with this week's Bow Hunting League update. I did break out the soundboard, so I know the volume's going to be good. I can hear myself talking when I'm doing it, so I know it's going to be rocking. All right. I'm not sure if you guys like me doing this or not, but it is a good way to keep track of what everybody's, shooting, where they're shooting them at, and hearing some scores, getting to see these deer, and, kind of notice some trends. And I know Ben's got a whole bunch of data and stuff, from previous years that he's been piling up. And, this past week, it was actually kind of slow for the bucks that got entered in on the forum. So, there's a lot of transition going on right now. All the deer should be pretty close to out of velvet, if not all the way out. And, they're shifting to their fall patterns, and, crops might be coming out somewhere. Acorns are falling. So a lot going on. And, it's just kind of interesting to see that, we're not the only ones that, aren't on the bucks at this moment in time. So getting into this week's kills is starting off with Jerry Hatter from Blue Collar Bucks out of Maryland. On 9/11, he shot 137 and 6/8. Chris Fight from Border Buck Killers, 119 and 1/8. That was a 10-point. And then we have Eric Sissel from Meat Seekers with 139 and 5/8, and that was a muley. I believe that was a 9-pointer, had a split G2 on one side. I'm not sure what the deductions are for that, for entering it into the league to kind of level the playing field for whitetail kills. I believe muley gets subtracted and blacktails get an addition. The scorecard on that had 139 and 5/8 circled, and then it had 129 down in the total scores, so I just went with the 139. Justin Stevens from Stickin' Dreams shot a buck in Missouri, 102/8. And then I know that there was a lady who shot a buck. I have not seen her enter it into the forum yet, so we'll cover that when she enters that. We'll do the King of Tines individual. I believe I forgot this last week, so I apologize. Still at the top is Matt Jennings, 276 and 6/8. Eric Sissel has got 2 bucks down. He's got 252 and a quarter. One of them's a muley. Nick Wright with his 176-inch buck. That real gnarly one that we talked about last week, Steven Tucker and Dylan Bartling rounding out the top 5. Ben posted this in the Facebook group tonight. Battle of the States. Kentucky's leading it with 12. Tennessee's coming in second with 5. North Carolina's got 3. Minnesota has 2. And then we have Iowa, Maine, Missouri, Nebraska, and Wyoming all with 1. That Iowa buck was an urban hunt. I inquired about that a little bit. King of Tines team standings. Regulators still on top, 440 and an 8th. Second is Doe Patrol, 417 and an 8th. Third, Antler Addicts, 278 and 3/4. Fourth, Carolina Reapers, 265 and an 8th. And Meat Seekers is 252 and 2/8. So I believe this will be the last weekend, and then there's a whole bunch of more states coming in on the 1st of October. And then I remember seeing last year there was a couple states that were like the 15th or something of October. So it's getting ready to get cranked wide open. And that'll wrap up this week's Bow Hunting League update.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got it. All right, let's get into the show. All right, guys, we got Brody Splain on the line. He's going to talk about the big one, absolute mega giant typical that he shot. Thanks for coming on, man. We've been trying to line this up for a while. I seen your picture. I was like, man, we got to have this guy on because I got to hear the story.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I've really been looking forward to this, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's always a blast. You get with like-minded people talking about deer hunting, it goes pretty easy. So
Right.
So this is your 60-second commercial to the listeners. Let them know a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Brody Splain. I am from southeastern Indiana. Been hunting pretty much my entire life since I was 4 or 5 years old. I've been around. I've been hunting in Canada and Newfoundland, and I've been to Africa 3 times, and hunting all over the United States. But nothing compares to hunting giant deer, in Indiana. So.
Nice. That's awesome. I didn't know you'd been to Africa. That's pretty sweet.
That's a little different bio than, we usually hear.
Yeah,
right.
I had seen your Canada pictures and Newfoundland pictures up there. You shot a bear right up there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's epic, man. That's
on my birthday.
Oh, man, can't
it's
beat
pretty
that.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's stuff me and homie dream about. We're gonna make it eventually. We just got to get some kids that grown up, and then we're going full send.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right. Well, we could probably do 3 or 4 podcasts with you, I'm sure, but we're here to talk about the big one, that giant Indiana typical buck that you shot. Go ahead and break down the season or the hunt for this deer.
Okay, so how it kind of started, it was my first year ever hunting this property. And it's about 2-minute drive from my house, So why it took me so long to start hunting there, I have no idea. But I finally got permission to hunt there with a special thanks to my mother, who actually asked for permission for me without my knowing. But anyway, the entire summer, July, August, September, watching, big alfalfa fields, 30, 40 acres on this property. It's a 70-acre property, and it's mostly crop fields. But I pretty much watched it consistently all summer. I knew what I thought most of the deer were over there. I pretty much thought I knew every buck. And, season rolls around. First couple days, I'm after a couple really nice mature deer, really nice 9 and 10 pointers, like solid 150s, really nice trophy deer. And that was going to be enough for me. But so the first 2 days of the season, I was trying to hone in on where they were entering the alfalfa, to no luck. But the third day of October, the third day of the season, I set up on the ground and brushed myself in, and I was going to catch them when they hopped the fence into the alfalfa. That night I saw almost no deer, and I was just getting ready to quit, and I took one last look around the alfalfa, behind me in all directions with my binoculars, and I seen this deer coming towards me from about, 80, 90 yards across the fence from the neighbor's property. And I put my binoculars on it, and I immediately put my binoculars back down because the rack I saw on the top of this deer's head took me by such surprise that I didn't even want to look at it because I'd get too excited, you know? So it was pretty much like, well, that's a shooter, so I better get ready because he's coming right towards me. And my wind and everything was perfect, and he was coming right to me, and the way it looked, he was going to hop the fence and be 22 yards. Man, I was just going to smoke him. And there was a very small cedar tree right behind me, between him and I, and he had walked all the way to it where I couldn't even see him, and he got within probably 6 yards. And, you know, my wind was good, but at that range, I don't even know if wind matters because if they get that close, they kind of pick up on you so fast. And he got that close, and he snorted, and he ran around, and he still jumped the fence right in front of me, and I was already at full draw. But as soon as his feet hit the ground from jumping that fence, he bounded off over the hill. And it was getting so dark that I couldn't really make out how big he really was. But I was like, man, I haven't seen that deer all summer, and I've been watching this thing every day, you know, this alfalfa. So I'm like, man, I got to put up cameras everywhere. I got to figure out what deer this is. So, you know, fast forward 2 weeks or more to the 19th of October, I checked cameras one day on a couple scrapes, and I'm getting, you know, all my bucks are gone. You know, I've got no bucks whatsoever on camera from the past 2 weeks. And I thought, well, that's weird because the food's still there, and there's, you know, the rut's not going on, so there's not any reason for them to leave. What is happening? You know? So I checked my cameras, and the first picture is just, you know, I finally got him on camera. It's a 200-inch giant typical deer, you know, and that's the only deer I have on camera. And
man. That's a decent pull. One. Yeah.
Yeah. So he walks right in front of this guy. You know, if you would have asked a deer to pose for pictures, it would have looked exactly like this. He came in and he's pawing at the scrape. You know, he's rolling his rack on the licking branch, and you know, he gets right up in the camera and he's like showing his rack off to the camera from like 2 feet away. You know, it's like, my God, this just seems too ridiculous to be true, you know? So I'm like, this is before I had a cell phone, believe it or not. So I was going to call my dad, but I couldn't. So I had an iPad in the woods with me that I was checking cameras on. I'm like, man, I can't wait to get home and show him this deer because he's not going to believe it, you know? So I get all the way home and I'm like, Dad, you're not going to believe this giant buck I've got. I said, it's 200 inches. And he goes, no, it's not. You're exaggerating, you know? And I mean, I know how to score deer. We own a taxidermy business here in the family, and I've scored, you know, thousands of deer, you know, so I'm a pretty good judge. But anyway, I said, Dad, you got to look at this deer. And just as I'm realizing that, I realized my iPad isn't even with me. I left it in the woods at my stand.
Oh, man.
So now I'm like trying to explain to him, you know, what this thing looks like. And I don't even have the photo proof, you know, to show him. So the next day I went hunting and I brought the iPad back, and I didn't get him, but I didn't see him or nothing, but I brought it back and he immediately looks at the picture and goes, oh yeah, that's definitely a 200-inch deer. You know?
Oh yeah.
But, you know, for the next 2 weeks, same thing. He'd roll through at night and he'd hit them same scrapes, and he'd do the exact same thing every probably 2 days. You know, you hear about these bucks on their circuits. They come through every 2 or 3 days and they'll hit it at night. And, you know, so I'm hunting and, you know, the thing about it, the reason I wasn't seeing any more bucks is because he had ran off every other buck for, it seemed like a whole square mile or more. So the only bucks I'm seeing are these little pissy 2-year-olds and spikes and everything, because nothing else is there because he ran them all off. So it was very uneventful hunts, because I'm either going to see him or, a tiny buck or a doe, I mean, it's so fast forward to, November, and the wind was bad one night. It was November 3rd. And I thought, I'm just going to set up on this edge of this field in a blind, where I can somewhat protect my scent. And I sit there all evening. I'm sitting over a little clover, and I mean, there's just deer coming out all night. There's does. There's probably 25 does out in front of me in this 2-acre clover plot. And I've got a bunch of 2-year-olds out fighting each other, and I look up. It's probably 6:30 in the evening. Broad daylight. It's beautiful, clear day, and he's just walking through the middle of this field, and my heart sank through my entire body. I can't even describe, when you see a deer of that caliber in the wild, like walking, I don't know what it is. Camera, you get them on camera, you don't freak out as much as when you actually see them in the flesh,
Yeah, I completely understand, man. Yeah,
oh my gosh!
If you see anything that typical and big, especially, I mean,
it didn't even look real. His rack
Yeah.
doesn't even look real when he's in the wild. It looks like he's got a damn tree on his head. You know what I'm saying? So he's just slowly walking through this field. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the edge of this field in a blind. He's way out in the middle of it. The chances of me getting a bow shot right now are probably slim to none. And he goes and chases every single doe in this field, all past 60, 70, 80 yards. He's staying in that area where there's just no way I'm going to shoot that far, But he runs out of the field, and I'm like, oh my God. I saw him for about, 40 seconds, and I thought, well, that's probably all I'll ever see of him. I finally get to see him in daylight, and he's ran out of the field and he's gone. Well, 10 minutes later, here he comes running back, and then he comes back and he runs every single doe in that field again, and then he runs back over the hill, and then he's gone again. I'm like, Jesus, I wish this thing would come into bow range. But then he comes back for a third time, and he stops at the top of this hill. I mean, it is the most open shot I could have got. 63 yards I ranged him, and he's standing perfectly broadside. There's no wind. And I can shoot 60, 65 yards, but, when you're hunting a deer of that size, once in a lifetime type stuff, you really don't want to, I couldn't bring myself to chance it. If you hit him high or low or back, I'd hate myself.
Yeah, that's a tough choice, man. 60 plus yards, you're sitting there. You're like,
it's the most perfect broadside, wide open, broad daylight, and for me to pass that up, man, God, it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
And he just slowly walks out of the field right before dark, and then he's gone. He just disappears. I come back to the house, I'm heartbroken, and then probably 2 weeks go by, and I don't get him on camera anymore anywhere. Gun season rolls around. I think it was the 15th of November, and I couldn't hunt the entire opening weekend of gun because there were 3 guys coming on there to this property.
Man.
Yeah, who hadn't been there all year. They were from Florida, so they don't even know this deer exists. I kept this on the extreme down low.
Oh yeah.
Very few people even know this exists. So these 3 guys come in, and I'm thinking, oh man, these guys are going to put in one day of work, and they're gonna shoot this deer, and they're not even gonna know what they have, So that was a very tough weekend of sleepless nights, and stress, and then to come to find out, there were more guys coming in for the rest of that week. So it was Saturday through the next Friday. I couldn't even get in there.
Oh man,
that's a long time.
Yeah. So I go, well, at least I have, Saturday and Sunday I can go in. I can do it on the weekend and see if I can find him, So Saturday rolls around. I get there in the morning, and there's already other guys in there that weren't supposed to have gone in that day, but they did anyway. So it's like, oh my gosh, there's no way that this is actually gonna happen. And plus, you know, there are, my three surrounding neighboring properties. They have a couple hundred acres apiece, but they, this is another thing. They find it necessary to hunt right on the border of the back 10 acres of my place. So there's 7 stands overlooking the back part of my property. So there's all those people plus the 3 people hunting on my place on my lease. So there's 8 or 10 guys back there at all times during the first week of gun season. So you're thinking, well, if this deer walks anywhere, even in the area, he's going to get blown away. You know. But I went in there. They didn't have any luck. They wounded what they called a 12-pointer that Saturday morning. And I figured, well, surely they wouldn't just call it a 12-pointer if they had shot the big one. They would have said, oh, I just shot like a world record, So I'm thinking to myself, well, surely it's not the same, 12-point frame deer. And they lost it. They didn't find it. So they were disgusted and they went home. So it was, I could go in there for the Saturday evening hunt. So I went in there. It was November the 25th or something. I think it was the 25th. I went in and I went up. I sat in this blind. It was gunned. By the way, I would have really loved to kill this deer with a bow more than anything, but it just didn't, pan out that way, But I went in there that Saturday evening and I was so disgusted. I went in there. There was so much pressure from the past week. I didn't even see a deer. I went in at like 2:00. I didn't see a single deer, and I'm in a beautiful, lush clover field. I didn't see a single deer all night, and it's getting, right prime time and starting to get dark. And I thought, I'm just gonna leave. I'm so disgusted and pissed off, and I take one more gander around the field with my binoculars, and I see one deer on the far end of the field, and I thought, oh God, probably a doe coming out. It's probably the only deer I'm going to see all evening. So I put my binoculars up, and it's like, holy crap, there's the deer. Giant rack, there he is. Okay, I got to shoot this thing. I'm freaking. So I throw my binoculars down, and I'm shaking so bad. I put my gun on the rest, and I turn my zoom on my scope all the way down, thinking I'm turning it all the way up because I'm so excited. So I put it from 9 to 3 when I was supposed to put it from 3 to 9. And I was so excited looking through the scope, I didn't even notice. And I thought, wow, 9X, this looks really far away. So even up to to when I shot, I didn't even notice. But anyway, it's about 120 yards. And man, I'm trying to calm myself down. And it's the only deer in the field. And I'm like, man, just take your time. I start to pull the trigger. It's like, Jesus, I am so shaky. And plus this thing looks so far away. I don't even know how to get steadied on this thing, So I keep trying to squeeze it off. And it's like, God, I have to keep backing off. I'm shaking too bad to take this shot. And finally, it probably took 2 minutes to calm myself down. And in that moment, that is so long.
Oh yeah,
that seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
And it probably took me 2 minutes to calm myself. And I finally shot, and the gun surprised me so much going off. And I saw the deer turn and whip out of the field, and I have no idea what happened. I have no idea where I hit it. And I freak out, and it's like I start crying, I start crying. I start freaking. I have no way to call home because I don't own a cell phone yet. So I just think, oh my God, I need help. I got to run all the way home. So I grab all my things and I ran. I mean, it's probably a 1,000-yard distance to where I parked the Rangers. So I ran 1,000 yards with a gun over my shoulder and a backpack on, my hunting boots, crying. And I get back to the Ranger, and I drive home, and my mom's the only one home because my dad's out hunting. And I come in the front door and I said, Mom, I think I got the big one. And she just screams in complete excitement. And she comes and hugs me. I'm like, man, don't celebrate, because I don't even know if I hit this thing, Yeah, I don't want to get too excited. So I called my dad, or where the landowner my dad was hunting on, and I said, hey, can I talk to Dad? I think I got that big one. And he must have heard me on the phone in the speaker, because he ran out of that guy's door and jumped in his truck and hauled ass all the way home without even getting on the phone, So anyway, me and my dad went out, and his buddy Dave, and we went out, and we went out to the spot where I shot. And I said, I think he was standing here, We find a little blood, and we go where I think he exited the field. I'm like, man, this looks like good blood. It might even be lung blood. It kind of looks like it has bubbles in it. So we're starting to get a little bit excited, and we get right to the edge of this field, and my dad lets out the most hysterical, ear-piercing scream I've ever heard in my life, and it scared me so bad I almost fell over. And he's hooping and hollering, and he's jumping around in circles with his hands up, going, "Oh my God, you got him!" And he's running over to it, and I'm still trying to process that we just found this deer. So it really took me like a couple minutes to getting myself together, and then my emotions just got the best of me, and I just start bawling my eyes out. I've got pictures, from the recovery where, man, my eyes are just blood red, and there's just tears streaming down my face, But man, I'm telling you, it was a heck of a hunt. I once in a lifetime kind of stuff. North American Whitetail got a hold of me the next week, and they did the story on it, and I got the front page of the paper of our small town paper with a deer of all. I mean, how many small town newspapers have a giant deer for their front page? And that's what I had. So I feel extremely blessed, and it seems like every week I'm in town or at a gas station, someone will come to me and say, "Man, that was a hell of a deer you killed that year," or something, or somebody will say something. And it's like an ongoing thing, and you guys get a hold of me here 2 years later, and you want to do this podcast, and it's like a never-ending reward, for all this hard work and stuff I put in. But man, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we appreciate hearing the story. I figured out the name for this deer. You should name him 9X, because that's a primo name, I think. What do you think, homie?
I like it.
Yeah, I like 9X as a name. That's pretty good, because you shot him on 3, but you should have been on 9. You thought you were on 9 the whole time.
Right.
So yeah.
That was pretty pathetic, but whatever.
Hey, man, you got the job done. You might on 9, you might have been shaking so much it could have been bouncing all over. You never know you've been.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Everything.
I never got one daylight picture of this deer ever. And all my neighbors did. And you hear people always say, well, if you don't get him in daylight ever, he's probably living way far away and coming over on his circuit through his checking his scrapes every now and again. But so it seemed at the time, hunting all them weeks. So I'm sure you guys have felt this too, where it feels so impossible to get out there and hunt these big deer. You're sitting out there and you're like, man, I'm sitting out in the middle of the woods up in a tree, and I'm trying to, sling an arrow at something that lives out here, and it's probably 10 times smarter than I am. And, it just you feel so ridiculous out there sometimes, or at least I did.
Yeah, when you're hunting something that big, you're hunting like a unicorn. You know what I mean? You're hunting something that's like...
It doesn't even feel real when you're out there for that long. You don't see anything,
No.
It just feels like you're chasing some kind of crazy dream that doesn't even exist,
You get him on cam, you're like, okay, he's still here, but I don't really know if he's alive, or it's just he's just I don't know if he lives 3 miles away or
2 or 3 days. I was getting him on camera so consistently. I mean, if he was missing every 2 or 3 days, I was getting concerned.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I had so many different days of this deer coming through, and I didn't have any past experience with this deer because it was my first year hunting this property,
That might have been the best, man. He could have been a 160s typical, or 170s.
I know it. And another thing about this deer, you'd look at me and think, God, this is like a super old, mature deer. And I'll be honest with you, I think he's only 4.5. Judging, we aged him by the teeth, and we looked at his body size and everything. And we looked at his body, with his body shape. I mean, he just looks like he's 4.5. And it seems incredible that a 4.5-year-old deer can. I mean, his gross score was 212. Yeah. So for a 4-year-old deer to get that big, it seems so crazy.
We had a 3-year-old on here, Legend Series, that was 185 and some change, right?
Yep, typical.
Gosh,
and he was 3. He's hit the teeth in.
Was that an 8-pointer? 8 or a 9?
Yeah, 8 or 9. I think it was an 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was 3 years old. By I don't know how they do it. It's science, so they send it off, so we can't argue with it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he sent it off, and he messaged me. He was like, "You're never gonna believe how old that deer was." I was like, "How old?" He's like, 3 years old. I'm like, man, it could have been the same thing like you. You think he's 4, but he could have been a 180s typical the year before, or a 170 typical. So it's possible.
Yep.
We're in the states that you can grow them that big, and I feel like a lot of people kill deer and they think they're a lot older than they are. But I feel like a lot of 3-year-olds get shot around us. And people think they're a little older, but
it was a 10.
It was a 10.
Yeah,
but I'll shoot a 3-year-old all day if it's a nice one. I'm trying to shoot mature deer, but if a 160 walks out, it's still a 160.
Yeah, kind of hard to pass.
Yeah,
I actually passed up it was hard to do, but I passed up a high 150s 10 last year. That was a 3-year-old.
Yeah, that'd be tough for me. That 140, 150 class is still where I like to plant my foot and shoot for that. But
absolutely, that's a trophy deer anywhere in the world.
I got a couple of questions I want to ask about that. So, the neighbors had them in daylight. So with your neighbors' properties, and I know you won't know an exact number, with just the neighbors that had trail cam pictures of and yours, how big do you think his home range was?
I don't think it was that big. Maybe I think he lived within. For most of his time, I think he spent within 20 or 30 acres. I don't think he left that very often. Judging by how often I was getting him on camera and how limited his range was where people were getting him on camera, I don't think he ventured out of that area very often.
I've seen that happen a lot on the piece I used to hunt. You get
just
a deer,
felt comfortable there.
You get a deer that you don't get on camera, but you see in a certain spot, and you're like, why do I not get him on cam? And you're seeing him like consistently over there. You're like, this deer just never leaves that area. You know what I mean? He just lives in this 40-acre block.
Did anybody hunt that property before you had got on it?
In years past, yes.
Okay.
And as far I've talked to them, and they have no history with it at all. Nobody's ever. And that's another thing. The other guys hunting on the property had cameras out, and they never got him on camera even one time. He only hit. I guess this speaks to how good I can put cameras out in spots, but he never hit any of their cameras, and I got him on all of mine. So you talk about luck. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just coming in there to, his mind was just set on hitting them scrapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I could see a 4-year-old, being a little more adamant to really try to show some dominance and hit them scrapes. And really make it, like you said, he's running off other bucks. That shows a 4 or 5-year-old deer that isn't too mature. Because we were hunting a deer that we thought was really mature, and then we shot him, and we're still not sure how old he is. Right? I need to send it in still, but we aged him at 5.5 with the teeth ourselves.
Yeah,
but we haven't signed him off and get it exact. But yeah, I have it. Yeah, homie would already done
I'll pay the $45.
Homie would have done it like 2
take,
months ago.
because I'm dying to know.
He's gonna come back as a 2-year-old.
Yeah, that'd be sick. One thing I want to ask is, since I've met Cody, Cody's talked about hunting, like late November and having a lot of, good success and a lot of trail cam activity. And that's one thing that I've really started to key in on. And one thing that we haven't talked about it a whole bunch on here, but we do, see them bigger bucks still chasing, yearling does in that late November time frame. Especially like Thanksgiving weekend. You got the long weekend. If you can get everything done on Thursday, let the wives go shopping on Black Friday, and then, you just hit up the tree stand. And we've seen some good rut activity that weekend. Do you think that this was kind of part of that in that time frame that you were hunting there?
Well, he was really rutting hard the first week of November. I know that for a fact. And I think when he disappeared for those 2 weeks in the middle of November, he was locked down with those the entire time. And when I saw him on November 3rd, man, he looked like a cow, man. His neck was swelled up. He looked huge, And when I killed him, he had lost so much weight and he was so rutted out. And I think that was the 25th of November. So at that time he was done. He was by himself. I think he just gone so hard for those couple of weeks that he just gave up.
That's kind of when you were telling me the story, that's what I was kind of thinking. You got that many guys hunting in that area with not even a sighting, no trail cam pictures. They didn't get any trail cam pictures of him. So you're thinking, man, you're thinking he's going to be dead, but he's
either
a
been
4-year-old.
Shot or he's locked down.
He's a 4-year-old that's cruised another property and is locked down. And then, the first day that you hunted, it could have been his first day back. And like you said, he's so down, he's just trying to replenish. And like you said, that place didn't hold a lot of deer in general. So he come back to that area thinking, okay, I'm safe here. I'm going to go out and get a bite to eat and try to replenish something. And then boom, he's hitting a food plot in daylight because he's so run down that late in the year. So what was the temps like that day?
It was cold. Not horrible. I think it was probably 30, 35,
I know the juries always talk about when it warms up, they hit the greens.
Yeah,
instead of going
like
to the
if
grains.
it's cold, and then, like brutal cold, because we had some brutal cold.
It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It was a very average November day.
Yeah.
Nothing special about it.
Huh. Homie's got a whole list of stuff up there. Go ahead.
Obviously you shooting this deer, like you said, is, a once in a lifetime experience, and Cody kind of had that with his buck last year. Like experiencing that, what do you look for going forward with just deer hunting in general?
Well, I've gotten a lot more picky, I can tell you that. But, right now, I'm still hunting the same place. This is my 3rd year there. And for the past 2 years, I've been hunting another one that's it's got to be very closely related. They must have a common parent or something because they have very similar characteristics. But the deer I'm hunting now is 5, and he's a mainframe 10, and he's probably, I put him at mid 190s, non-typical, So that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to get that one.
Yeah, it just seems like when you find that property that
will
hold giants, it just holds giants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just people are like, oh, you got to find the deer, but I feel like if you could find that little nook, it's just 70 acres. You said it's not a lot of ag, or it's not a lot of timber, mostly ag.
Right.
You just get that little nook where the area can just grow big deer.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to hold one of those for a while where you just you get a 190 on cam and you're like, holy crap,
Yeah.
And now, hell, I don't think I'll get a 190 on cam for a while. I got to get it south 2 miles of where I'm at to get back down there. But
so you said that you're hunting off the ground. The first time you seen this deer, you were on the ground. Is that just kind of like a little bit of your norm, or because there's not a lot of timber, you couldn't find a good tree?
Well, it's a little bit of both. On the edge of this fence where they're going into the alfalfa, there were no trees at all. It was just really high brush along this fence row. But I'm no stranger to hunting off the ground. I did it growing up more than I hunted out of trees. So, hunting on the ground, it is kind of a norm. I don't have a problem with it, and if I have to do it, I don't have a problem with it. Some people really get nervous about it. They think it's, really risky, but I haven't felt that way.
Are you in a blind, or are you just kind of brushing yourself in and you're exposed?
I just brush myself in, the best I can.
See, so
Is it-
like I don't like hunting in a blind personally, whether it's turkey season or deer
Yeah,
season.
I don't either.
Because I just feel like I lose my ability to hear. Like, I feel like there could be something 15 yards to the left of me, in a spot that there's no window, and I feel like I can't even hear it, even though I know it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just don't like.
I like
being...
to feel like I'm out there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the
I
same
don't
way
like to
I
feel like I'm in a room looking to the outside.
Yeah, I want to be out in it.
Yeah, we know a lot of guys that
Exactly.
hunt off the ground and are super successful.
Yeah.
Matt and Jesse every year off the ground kills a giant.
Right?
Gunner, bow, it doesn't matter. But hey, I killed my big one with a gun too. So they don't look any different on the wall with a gun. I'm telling you,
Hell
they
no,
look
they
the
don't.
same. So
I'm just as proud.
yeah.
Have you got your mount back? Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You're just thinking
Well,
about me, aren't you?
Right.
So I think it was super awesome that you had your dad out there. One thing I got to say before we say that, you shot this buck 2 years ago and you didn't have a cell phone. Like,
Yeah, I know.
What's going
I
on,
know.
man?
I was
Yeah.
gonna make a comment like, is this 94 or what, bro?
Well, I'm 20. I'm going to be 21 here at the end of the month. I was still in high school, and believe it or not, I would use my iPod to text people with, because that's basically all I needed to do. you know.
Yeah.
So I really didn't feel the need to have anybody, call me or anything. So
And that would
and I
be
was pretty much
satisfying.
around Wi-Fi all the time. So having a phone just seemed kind of, not necessary a couple of years ago. But now I gotta have one.
Cody thinks his phone bill is pretty gangster, but I bet yours 2
Yeah.
years ago was sick.
Yeah, yours is
Free.
Everybody's got the iPhone, like 7.
Yeah, I don't
Sure.
know. I got to thinking about this, Cody. I don't even know why we use your phone to call people
I have no
because you have
idea.
the worst service.
Yeah, I have the
out of
worst
both of
service
us.
anybody. But my phone plan is cheap as shit, bro.
Yeah.
I'm all about the cheap stuff, man. Whatever can get me by the easiest without just like that. I mean, but anyways, yeah. Back to what I had to bring that up. It was in the back of my mind. Like, I got to say something. But anyways,
Sure.
you're out there with your dad recovering. That is epic, man. And for your dad to be so jacked. I don't know if your dad's a hunter also, but you said
Oh,
you
yeah,
had the
big time.
taxidermist in there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's something that is so epic for you get to do that with your dad, and
Oh, it made it so special. He was just as excited, or even more than I was.
oh yeah, I
know,
can imagine that. I
it-
would
it-
be.
Yeah, it was incredible. Something I'll never forget ever.
Yeah, I think about if my kid killed a giant, how
Oh, dude.
I'd be way more jacked than him. He'd be like, "Yeah, that's a pretty good deal." I'm like, "No, man, no, this is serious stuff." So yeah, that's pretty epic.
Mhm.
So what do you think total hours you had in hunting? I mean, you're 18, you're in high school. I bet you're out there quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, it was actually my first year out of high school, and my job allows me to, with these ag fields, most of the deer come out in the evening. You rarely see stuff on this property in the morning, hardly ever. So my job allows me to hunt in the evening through dark. I can come home, eat dinner, and then go to work at night, and then sleep through the morning. So it was a really good system. I could get out there pretty much any time I needed to.
Nice, yeah. That works out
Minus gun season, where I had to wait on other people. But for all of bow season, it really worked out well. But God, as far as amount of hours, I mean, it's in the hundreds for sure. I think I hunted 50 some days or 48 or 50 days for this deer. It was incredible.
Man,
It's just
I was saying,
stupid.
just like you said, when you got that job that allows you that primo time, and
Right.
obviously you don't have no wife or kids, but
Mhm.
that's a
That's
huge
stat,
game
bro. Yeah, that's a
changer.
game changer right there.
But
Right.
Keep going to Canada, bro. That's all I'm saying. Just go right now.
no, but I mean, just like you could have not hunted, but your drive and just you want to be out there and trying to chase this deer, and you got your mindset that that's what you want to do.
Yeah, you could have been chasing girls. You were
Exactly.
chasing giant bucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Props to
Yeah.
you, man. I wish I hunted when I was 18, but I didn't hunt that hard. Like I didn't,
Right.
but I wasn't chasing that big of a deer. If I would have seen that big a deer when I was 18, man, I would have choked.
I would have said as a
I
world
would've-
record.
Yeah, I would have choked. I just shot the biggest deer alive ever. The biggest deer that has walked the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you've scored deer. Can you kind of elaborate on that? What kind of got you into that?
Well, I mean, my dad owns a taxidermy shop. So growing up, I've seen thousands upon thousands of deer come through. And one day I just got this thing, and I'm like, man, before I really even got into deer hunting, this is when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I thought, man, everybody's talking about score, and I have no idea what anybody's talking about. So I got into it, and I got so addicted to scoring deer. I just been doing it for so many years now. I can, like, I did one today. My friend brought over a dead buck, and he's like, "What is this score?" I said, "I don't know, 165," and we scored it up, and 165 and a half, you know.
Mm.
And I actually guessed my deer on the hoof, because everybody's always asking me, well, you know, because I show my close buddies the trail camera pictures and stuff while I'm hunting it. And they go, well, what do you think it's score? And I go, well, the best thing that I can come up with is, you know, between 212 and 214 gross. And it ended up scoring 212 and a half. So
It's pretty damn good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty legit. Yeah.
I would say we hear about guys all the time that, you know, can get within that half-inch mark on basically any deer that you ask them the age, you know. So if you got the gift, you got the gift.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been doing it for, 10 plus years too with taxidermy, like when we go up to Ingram's, our taxidermist guy, we just pick deer up and score them sometimes just to see, and most of the time the guy knows that brought it in, and I score it up. I'd be like, well, what's this one score? He'll look at, and he'd be like, well, I normally add some inches, like 5. I don't have that cable tight enough. I had my buck last year officially scored for the first time I've ever seen anyone do it, and I was like, wow, okay.
We need to get a cable.
Yeah, the cable, that is legit. If you have a cable, I was adding, 2 3/8 to every mass measurement just because I can't get that cable, or I can't get that string as tight as that cable, so I had the guy that measured it, shout out Average Hunter. He kind of showed me exactly what he was doing, and then went over to a ruler, marked it. I was like, man, this is serious stuff.
Yeah, right.
They ain't letting an eighth get by, I'll tell you that right now.
No, but I think one thing that, kind of throws a lot of people off when they ask, hey, what do you think this scores? One thing that throws a lot of people off is the mass, because, like, there's a big difference between a 3 and a 7-inch mass measurement, but it might not look as big as 4 inches. You might only, give it 2, and you're missing out on 2 inches there.
Yeah,
so you're missing out on 2 inches, 8 times. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yep.
Adds up quick. Well, man, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. I know a lot of people will love this story. I appreciate you working with the scheduling with us.
No problem. No problem. Anytime. Hopefully I'll have another story on this other big one I'm hunting.
Heck
so.
yeah,
dude.
Can't beat that.
Yep.
Well, you don't get a much bigger typical than that.
Not at all.
Had a few flyer points, but that's it. If you guys haven't seen the picture of this buck, trail cam picture-wise...
I'm not even sure you call them flyers. I think they're just splits.
Yeah, splits. Check out our Instagram, our Facebook. We'll share some trail cam pictures of them. I like to share that because that's what this guy got before he harvested. You see the harvest picture, you're like, okay, but the trail cam picture is where, like, it really hits, like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Imagine getting that on there, you know what I mean?
And then, I mean, even him seeing the deer in person before he even got a picture of him.
6 yards?
That'd have been sick.
I mean, that's close, so... Off the ground.
Dude, just imagine that showing up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
On a property.
It is at 6 yards.
Yeah, on a property that he really didn't think about. Same thing. One of those properties that, well, this is close to the house, but it might not hold any deer. And then boom, there's a 200 on it that you never even knew about. You know what I mean? So, don't overlook those small properties.
That's what we always say.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I said it.
I don't know how many times I said it. These legends, they
find
always,
that nook and cranny.
They always come in. Like I said, just like this guy, he's hunting another giant. When you find that property that holds giants.
He hunted this giant, and he's hunting another giant.
When you find the property that holds giants, the giants are just there for some reason. I don't know. It's just the genes in that area, whatever it is. But if a property holds giants in the future, it's going to hold another giant.
Yeah.
So, all right, get out there. Try to leave a legacy. I hope you shoot a giant this year, and Whitetail Legacy's out.